Great. Hi, Matt. Welcome to our podcast, the Social Manoa. Um, so I thought that we would just start. Please just introduce yourself and how would you describe your role as one of the founders?
Yeah, so my name is Matt Hong. I'm 28 years old, and I co-founded Banan with four of us total, three other good buddies of mine, all who met in high school, and some of us even in younger ages. Um, Probably my role at Banan would be best summarized as maybe uh, I guess kind of like the creative lead on things with branding, as far as like design goes, graphic design. I do a little bit of help with developing the menu, but overall, and used to kind of be more involved with management, but thankfully been kind of stepping out of that a little bit more and more as the years go on. But that's, I guess, what I would kind of consider myself in a nutshell with Banan.
Awesome. Thank you very much for deciding to come onto our podcast. So I guess just to start right away, um, what can you tell us a little bit more about Banan as a whole and kind of who you're trying to reach out through your business?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so what defines us is our product that we call Banan, and that's our company transforms locally grown bananas into a dairy-free soft serve. So I like to say that it's kind of like if a smoothie bowl and a frozen yogurt had a baby, it would be Banan would be its kind of plant-based farm to table love child. And so that's kind of the main thing we offer, and it's a fast casual type of restaurant. We have three locations currently on island and a mobile food truck that's a little broken down, but hopefully we'll get up and running again soon. And the impetus for creating this product was to support local farmers, and that's kind of how it came up. We came across this really silly machine that turned bananas into ice cream. We kind of flirted with the idea of like, we're in an entrepreneurial spirit and like, oh, what if this is what we did? We became like the Jamba Juice of banana ice cream, and kind of joked for a while with that. And when we connected the dots that we're from Hawaii and that it's one of the few states that commercially grows and sells bananas, we realized that there's kind of this deeper uh, potential deeper purpose to it of supporting local agriculture, and that's what drew us in, and that's why our product is what it is. And we try to market it to pretty much anybody who is, wants to find like a healthy treat, or also the localvore kind of community, people who want to, support local farms. And that said too, though, when we first started creating the product, we wanted to, we definitely drive home that uh, through marketing and branding that it's like a locally grown product, but we also wanted it, and that it's plant-based, but we wanted the product to hold its own regardless of being plant-based, because it's somewhat of an ice cream, and that people would just love it regardless. So even if you're not into health foods, we'd hope that you'd love it. Um, so target market is probably like, if we were to really nail it down to like numbers, it'd probably be like, 15 to 35 year olds, and maybe slightly leaning towards like the female demographic. But really anybody who wants to enjoy something healthy, refreshing, and local.
So thank you again for coming on. So I'm Vanessa. Hello. So you mentioned how you have a demographic of females that you gear towards. So what is like I guess the idea or like the mindset behind going for that demographic?
It's honestly, if we were probably better businessmen, we should probably try to focus on like a target demographic of people who just like our product more than the rest of the demographic in our community. But I guess, to be completely honest, we don't really have any like strategy at like attacking that. Because I'd say that that's just our probably most popular customer, who we really target in a way, just because that's the message that we want to put out, is just anybody who wants to support locally grown foods and plant-based foods, and just healthy eating in general. And so for that, we try to create some type of media content, here and there, that displays what we're doing with our farmers, or that we work with some, pig farmers, but also a small school, or kind of a group of schools, a hui, to get rid of our food waste and kind of tie into sustainability that way. So reaching out to all the customers, though, I guess, our main focus has been through social media, really just heavy with Instagram. We haven't quite gotten into the TikTok yet, although wouldn't be surprised if we eventually do. And marketing wise, there's also like a loyalty rewards program that we use, 5 stars, that's really successful, and I'd highly recommend to any other local business here. And that's probably the main channels through which we market, is social media, 5 stars, that loyalty kind of program, and then as well as now that we're doing like an online sales with macadamia nut honey butter, like a really fan favorite, staff favorite topping. Now we're kind of exploring like the deep dark world of paid ads, and I don't know if you guys have seen the Social Dilemma, that recent yeah. I mean, you just realize when you first start dipping your toes into paid ads like we have so far, that wow, it is just so true and so powerful how you can just kind of dial up a knob, and the more money you put into it, in a way, not totally, but in a way, the more that'll get spat out and sent your way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. I actually went to the same high school that you did, just for high school. But
Oh, is that right?
So, yep.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2017, and graduating this school year from UH. So senior this year.
Cool.
What about
Great.
you?
I'm sure you must know like a few of our employees, maybe.
Probably every time I go to
Graduated around
Banan, I
then.
see people that I know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
whether customers or workers. So
Yeah.
one of the questions that I had was, what is your business model for Banan?
Yeah, our business model is you'd call it, I guess, like a fast casual chain of health cafes, and with the I guess overarching focus of like supporting local farms through the food that we sell.
Awesome. Thank you. Straightforward business initiative.
So what is your mission statement, and how do you implement this into your business?
Yeah, our mission statement is to make the earth happy, make people happy, and serve righteous food. Those 3 things is how we try to guide ourselves through business as we evolve. Making the earth happy, I think I've probably hammered it in quite a bit, but part of that is supporting local farmers, and in that sense hoping to reduce the long voyage that our food takes to come all the way here to Hawaii, and hence its carbon footprint. On the flip side of that, as I mentioned, kind of a phrase that we coined, like there's farm to table, to support local farmers, and then we kind of coined this term table to farm, which is thinking about our food waste and trying to have it go back into the right places. And currently, as I mentioned prior, we deliver a lot of that, or a pig farm picks up a lot of that, and then some of the other food waste goes to some schools to be turned into vermicast for when their cafeterias aren't serving food, probably like right now, I'd assume. And so that's making the earth happy. and I'm sure there's a couple other things that we get thrown there for that. But making people happy, of course, we want to have shining customer service. I hope we always do, although who knows. And tied within that too is really also thinking about our employees and trying to make them happy and create kind of meaningful relationships and memorable experiences for them. We realize that we're not like, for most of our employees, we're not the end goal career, you know, and we're not that large of a company to really grow to all these different, you know, professional positions. And with the knowledge of that, realizing that everybody's time is fairly temporary and transient, that we want to just make it a really colorful, happy memory in their lives, and teach them maybe how to integrate a bit of play with work, and also making people happy. Just hopefully the relationships that we grow with some of our farmers, that I can talk about in a bit. We work with one farm fairly closely who grows bananas for us, and we hope we're making them happy. And that's also part of supporting local foods, is reinvesting, you know, into putting money into the hands of our fellow neighbors and farmers, and then serve righteous food. Hopefully the food tastes good and it kind of ties in those two things above.
Thank you. And I would agree. Let's see, I think I worked there for about 2.5 years, and that's exactly how I see Banan. It is a very happy, shiny, fun memory. It was such a cool college job to have, kind of incorporating play into work, but at the right times. So thank you. About 3 years ago, in October, was when you trained me at the shack. So
Oh, wow, yeah.
yeah,
I remember, yeah, for sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been telling my fellow ambassadors before you came, the fun joys of work from home is unstable Wi-Fi. So every now and then you guys are gonna cut out. But kind of returning back to the topic, and I definitely agree with Bevan. I didn't work at your shop, but I spent quite a lot of time eating there with my friends. Spent a lot more afternoons than I probably should have, but your ice cream definitely made me happy, especially during midterms and finals, for sure. But given that, with everything that's going on with the world right now, with the pandemic and everything, how has your business kind of pivoted now that there was a period of time where all of a sudden it's like people everywhere just like disappeared into their own homes?
Yeah, I mean, it's been certainly a wild ride. Probably, a little bit of mix of like stress in the beginning, but everything's kind of stabilized. And I'd say me and my business partners are certainly sitting in the camps that are just, I don't know, it's been kind of quite nice, honestly, to take a bit of a pause and a break from growth and thinking about growth. And it's kind of turned more into survival mode. To paint a clear picture of it, I mean, we're down probably, I hope my partners are okay with me sharing this, but we're probably down, to somewhere between 20 to 30% of sales pre-COVID. One of our, main largest income stores, which was in Waikiki, that's just completely dried up. We've closed it for months now. We're about to reopen this Friday to give it a go and see how it is. But even though we've had such a major plummet in sales, one of the sad things is the team hasn't been able to get together as much. And me and my business partners, we're certainly paid partly in experiences, and part of that is just hanging out with the team. And we, as I mentioned, that's part of the mission. And so that's been a little bit tougher since COVID. But how the business has changed since is, of course, just trying to really control costs, and be really smart about things, eliminate, subscription services we don't need, think about our food costs again. And so controlling costs, And then the way that we've been trying to jump into growth is transitioning, as I mentioned, into a packaged product, which is the macadamia nut honey butter that we now jar and we sell in stores, but also online, and which is really nice having a product that can ship, especially during COVID, and is also just amazing to see. You know, I think we've probably sold our mac nut honey butter in almost all 50 states. And it's just wild to see, you know, all the different addresses that pop up online of who's ordering this. And that's been probably our largest pivot as far as like our business model goes, is creating some, you know, diversifying our income a little bit through packaged shippable products. Because unfortunately, you know, our frozen banana goodness, it can't quite ship so easily. And as well as even for delivery, it's not, you know, we do deliver, but I wouldn't say that's like a really strong food item. You know, it's not like your Thai foods and your burgers and stuff that people love to, and their pizzas, you know, that people love to get delivered to their homes. So we tried that in the beginning a little bit, you know, like checking out delivery and testing the waters with that. But where we've been really sprinting towards is developing this macadamia nut honey butter project. And it involves us, you know, I'm currently redesigning and migrating our site to Shopify, which is just kind of industry standard. We're exploring new packaging. I'm gonna grab a little sample for you guys, because we were initially sourcing like glass mason jars, but you know, there's a lot of businesses similar to us and home hobbyists that since the pandemic, glass mason jars have just become totally depleted and really hard to find. So unfortunately for now, I'm not a huge fan of, you know, PET plastic. It's better for shipping, but this is kind of we're still probably like 3 months out till these actually get delivered, but like nice kind of tin jar, a little bit more sustainable feel and kind of premium feel to it. And so talking your guys' ear off, but that's probably been one of the more exciting transitions we've made through the pandemic, and that we've been met with immense success so far. And it's certainly helped us, you know, to keep us going, and not only financially, but just emotionally, just to be kind of excited about, you know, this new endeavor of our business. And it also gets us like kicking ourselves a little bit too, that like we've been in business, we're going to be coming up on 6 years in 2021. And we're like, we've served mac nut honey butter for all 6 years pretty much. And we're like, oh my God, like, why didn't we work on packaging it earlier and shipping it? And tons of employees, I'm sure even Bevan probably has told us in the past, like, why don't you guys pack it into, you know, little jars? And now that we're doing it, it's been really exciting. And that's probably been the biggest business model change through the pandemic.
Yes, I have been saying that. I have been saying that. It was so good. But the other one just doesn't taste the same that we would sell from the farm.
Yeah, I agree, from Oholo Farms. Yeah.
Can I ask, I haven't actually looked, I could check the website, but how much do you sell each individual jar for?
$13 for like a 8-ounce jar. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, someone can take the next question. I had to ask.
Where's the real quick? Where's the product like refined at your guys' location or outside of?
Yep, at our university store. That's the location that pretty much processes all of our food. Like when it turns bananas, you know, into these big vats of smoothie purees that we dump into our ice cream machines. It all happens there, and that's pre-pandemic. That's where we would have, you know, probably around 5,000 pounds of bananas a week was the average that we'd be hauling into there, peeling and turning into liquid form.
Yeah, cool. It's so cool. I think what's it called? I think it's really awesome that, you know, you're having this exciting endeavor with your tin cans. And also, just a quick side note, sorry, there's also construction. But anyway, I think what's it called? You're definitely not talking our ears off. We definitely do appreciate you having you here. Sorry, I'm like also really nervous. Okay. Thank you.
If you need a drink, maybe.
But yeah, since yeah, I have tea, but I think the tea is not helping because there's a lot of caffeine in here. But anyway, so I think you mentioned what's it called, having a lot of farmers or being in contact with a lot of farmers in local schools. So how are you able to initiate that and also gain a lot of trust and contact with them?
Early on, as we reached out to farmers, it's started out just us going to farmers market and trying to get the lay of the land on who grows what, like how do you order things. Quickly we learned, that usually for large scale produce of our sort, especially bananas, you'll go through large distributors. Like you see their trucks around town, like Cisco and Diotani, these people who handle large amounts of produce. So initially all of our bananas and much of our produce came from them. And then we kept meeting other small farms for specialty ingredients, like we work with Frankie's Nursery located in Waimanalo for passion fruit and dragon fruit and these things that are a little bit more seasonal, and we'll just buy a bunch from them at a time. And then our latest banana farmer and banana whiz, he goes by Banana Gabe. And I was just at a fundraiser maybe 3-ish years ago or so, and somebody, when I introduced myself and told them what I do, they're like, oh my god, like you have to talk to Banana Gabe, like I'm sure there's something that can come of it. And fortunately I reached out, and fortunately he got back to me when I reached out, and he said that he wanted to reach out prior to and think that we could kind of make something happen in some way. And from there it blossomed into this beautiful relationship where we gave him a little bit of capital and the money to help. He was building a nursery at the time, which is really just like some mesh kind of fence, to keep out bugs and other, vectors for disease. And in return, he would pay us back through growing us organic bananas of this kind of special variety. And that's, I guess, kind of a tangent from the question, but it was just on the foot, just meeting people and talking to the farmers at farmers markets or looking them up online, and then realizing that like you're never going to reach a farmer online or find them. Like you have to either find them through the markets or just word of mouth and people who have contacts.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. So the next question that we have is, what makes your business different from other similar businesses, like maybe businesses that distribute acai bowls or other health food style items?
Yeah. First off, what makes us different is just our product itself is served in this kind of fairly unique soft serve form. Mm-hmm. There's only a handful of people that we've seen, around the nation and world that are doing it, and a good handful of them were inspired by us. Some of them even like on their website state that, oh, went on a trip to Hawaii. There's this cool one in Copenhagen, this cool one in Denmark that kind of, tips their hat off saying like, we went to this trip in Hawaii, tried this product out, and now we're doing it over here. And so that's the main thing that I think really separates us, is that it is this weird kind of space of like, is it an ice cream? Is it like a smoothie bowl kind of thing? It's kind of a bit of both, a little bit confusing maybe to some people. So the product for sure differentiates us. And then probably, I think a lot of other smoothie and smoothie bowl companies are maybe trying to tap into, supporting like farm to table and doing all that. And some of them aren't, like, I don't know necessarily what Jamba Juice's supply chain looks like in Hawaii. Maybe they actually do some good. I'm not too sure. But I'd say because we're like a single ingredient focused product, that bananas is like our jam and that's our thing. It does differentiate us because, for one, we have that single ingredient, but also lucking out with working with someone like Mr. Gabe, Banana Gabe, and that we can, I don't know, so deeply invest in a relationship like that, and for being such a small company. But because we're small, but we kind of just go through this one particular ingredient, you know, pre-pandemic, like I mentioned, we're going through 5,000 pounds a week. We're going through a lot of it. So we can actually invest in these farmers and make, you know, the small change that we do. That I'm not going to say that other competitors aren't doing. I just don't know what they're doing with necessarily if they're that supply chain focuses us. And then I'd like to say we're the most fun company to work for, but I don't know. Who knows? I haven't worked for the other ones.
Definitely a fun company to work for, I would say. So you mentioned some people kind of not taking the idea, but kind of taking the idea in other places, like in Copenhagen, you said. But how do you handle when people do that? I think one of the other employees told me about someone doing something like Banan in Ecuador, or there was another one in like South Carolina, maybe. So what do you do when that happens, and how do you guys feel about it?
Honestly, for the most part, at least me personally, I generally feel flattered when I see it happening. They're like, oh, that's pretty amazing that we started this concept that people think is that impressive that they're going to throw their own money in life or try to raise investment or something to go do it. We don't necessarily attack the problem in any way. Most of them that we've seen kind of like futter out just because sometimes, at least like the North Carolina one, which is one of the first ones, they, you know, when people are doing that, sometimes they're just in the game of copying you and they don't really have that creative drive and genuine intuition about branding. And that guy's like truck was piss poor and it just it just wasn't going to work because he was trying to do what we did, but like, you know, half-ass job at best. And then on the other end of the spectrum, when we opened a few stores in Japan, there is actually a concept that mimicked ours pretty, I don't know, you know, detail for detail, like acai banana swirl, like the greens flavor, the way the menu is designed, the way that we have this kind of logo of like farm to table, table to farm, which shows like a banana going to an ice cream, going to like a banana peel, and having this kind of, you know, cyclical loop, and them stealing kind of ideas like that, and finding out that they were actually like a massive company. There was like 5,000 people, you know, huge conglomerate that was testing the waters with it. And how we defended and attacked was we just went in with our Japanese partners and just tried it out. And I know we don't speak a word of Japanese, but our Japanese partners were just like hassling, you know, the people who were working there, who poor souls who probably weren't really involved in the creation of it. And just being like, oh, do you know that these are the guys that like, this is the concept you guys stole? And, but there's not any like legal thing we go for. And honestly, if people are just doing it right, and especially if they had a similar focus on, you know, supporting some type of good agriculture, doesn't always have to be local, but has some, you know, beautiful story, I'm very for it. Like I think the world's large enough that it'd be cool to see our concept other places done differently by other people. It would hurt to see like if someone totally blew up and it was like a very similar thing and it'd be like, oh man, like, you know, we missed our, you know, our shot. But for the most part, I would say 80% flattered, and then like, you know, 10% intimidated, and then 10% something else. I don't know.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah, I think Gary sent me some pictures that caught my attention and made me laugh about that. So that's good to hear you guys are feeling positive about that. And then Cindy, sorry, I know you cut out. I think the next question is yours.
Yeah, sorry, I don't get to control, sadly, how the Wi-Fi goes in my house. So fingers crossed that it's gonna get fixed soon. But I guess for you, Matt, since you kind of started your own business, if there's any like student entrepreneur like you out there, what would kind of be like the steps that you had wished someone had walked you through, or something that you just want to impart on to the next generation of entrepreneurs that might see your business and be like, well, I want to start something similar to that or build on top of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if I was to rewind time and just be starting out, I would definitely, I mean, I didn't come from a business background, so things like in the world of accounting were like totally new to me, and I'm still not like our accounting arm force, within the company, but uh, definitely just understanding how to read a profit and loss statement, because you get to really dive into the costs. I think that's the most like business kind of, uh, if I was to like go back in time and talk to myself, it's hard to say. I don't know if that would be the thing, but to finish on that note, reading profit and loss statements, allowing yourself to like dive into costs and really make sure that like, hey, this cup of chocolate macadamia nut, it's really making sense. Or if like the mac nuts are costing too much and all your ingredients are costing too much for it really to make sense in the scheme of things as you're paying for rent, employees, and all that. That would have been a nice one, just to get a bit ahead. I mean, you'll figure it out eventually, as long as, I guess your product is successful enough. But that is really important, is, as an entrepreneur, I think I'd actually highly stress that, because I think we got really lucky. We're in fortunate backgrounds where we didn't have to pay ourselves in the very beginning. We're living at our parents' homes. But if you're really trying to generate income and feed yourself without like working another job or something, you really have to come into it with a pretty, I guess, not polished idea of like your costs and your, projection in sales, but I have a good idea for what you're going to get into. And what else would I tell somebody who's just starting out?
I guess if it might help you in like your thought process, like what was like something that when you first started and you what was like one problem that you ran across that you're like, it gave you a pause and it made you wonder like what do I need to kind of get through the, like, those up and coming new business stories that maybe if you want to share, that someone, a new student entrepreneur might run across, and it'll be like, hey, this can happen. Here's how I got through it. Some ideas for you.
Yeah, it's going to be just so different with a lot of, varying business models. I think you just got to really charge into things and totally hit walls, and then reassess and keep charging forward. Because I can't say a particular like, piece of advice that would translate into other people's businesses other than that. Because, for example, early on, we didn't always make our product with soft serve machines, for example. Like our first like month and first like 6 months of thinking about it, we were using these like juicers that we would pretty much shove like frozen bananas through them and grind them up. And long story short, we were doing things in a way that just wasn't scalable. And we realized that early on, after opening our doors, our truck, and serving people. And within the first 2 months, we closed down, invested in, more expensive equipment, which at the time for us was like, a big, I guess, risk. That we're like, oh my God, we're about to spend, like $16,000 on these machines, which just sounds absolutely insane. And it was the best decision we ever made, though. It's what gave our product what it looks like. It allowed it for, somewhat scalability. As Bevan knows, his machines are an absolute headache too at the same time, though. So there is that. We're always having machine issues. But I guess it is that yeah, as a at least as a 22-year-old entrepreneur like I was back then, and it was just kind of sprint into the challenge and then hit walls and reassess. And I think that's the only way that you're really going to learn. And don't be absolutely totally loose and crazy with your money. But I think that's also something that I would tell myself if I could speak to myself then, is to ease kind of the stress, is that like as an entrepreneur you have to take risks. And part of that is spending money at a threshold that you're not quite used to. Like when we first bought our food truck, we went with this hilarious, awesome family friend who flips cars for a living, and he got this food truck down from $5,000 to $2,000. But that day we were like, we're still coming fresh out of college, and we're like, dude, $2,000, like this is kind of a lot, even though it's like crazy cheap for a food truck and the shell of your whole company, in a way. But then we hit the next threshold with like the machines and spending that much money, and then like opening our first store. And it is that you have to like have this comfort level that grows with being a bit, I guess, riskier with your funds. And there's only so much calculation you can do. Part of it is a gamble.
I honestly think it's pretty cool that how you and your friends were able to just create a company straight out of college. But since we looked back in the past, how about looking at the future? Like, how do you see your business growing? There's a lot of noise in the background. I'm just gonna end the question right there.
Yeah, the future. One element, as I kind of mentioned, is focusing on the project of like macadamia nut honey butter, especially like now right during COVID, and as well as like even past that, we kind of excited to see where it goes. But the future for us, COVID's also been a really nice reset point to think about what we want to commit ourselves to. And pre-COVID, I would have told you that we want to eventually bring the company beyond Hawaii's shores and into markets like California and all that. And honestly, and maybe one day that'll happen, but honestly, having like kind of a break in momentum has been really refreshing to reevaluate that. I guess to summarize, and this is my own personal journey, I'm not totally speaking for my partners, but we had this like feeling of success, and we're all young and we're ambitious, and as much good we want to do, we also want some money. And we had this idea that we'll grow outside of Hawaii and enter places like California, and it kind of just felt like the next evolution. We built a bunch of stores in Oahu, and we established a really cool relationship with a farmer here that we're just totally down to invest in, and hopefully that's a huge part of our future. But with that momentum, it was kind of just dragging along that like the next step is to do that, because we have to go for something bigger because we're young and ambitious. But the break in COVID has been really nice to reassess, and I don't personally want to enter those other markets, even Japan. Our stores in Japan, which are now, they're just kind of a pop-up, they're closed, that were a taste into exploring our product outside of Hawaii. And I think I'm just so supply chain focused in a way that it takes an inspiring story for me to get excited about producing stores outside of here. Whereas Hawaii, it just makes crystal clear sense. we grow bananas, we want to sell those bananas in Hawaii. Whereas when you move into places like California and stuff, that I just don't know if I really want to be part of like the international banana trade and believe in, what that is, and that you can find a banana cheaper than an apple, in a community where apples are grown. So long tangent, but the future, which has been nice and refreshing to reassess, is that we just really want to focus in Hawaii and really just have strong stores here. And a huge part of my morale as of late has been our relationship with the banana farmer I mentioned. Early in the pandemic, probably within the first, I think it was late March, early April, like right when it was really turning up, we had our first batches of bananas delivered by him. And, that was a 2-year project in the making. And that's what I certainly get paid in a lot of, is the emotion of seeing that we're not just supporting Hawaii's agriculture, but we're hopefully helping to improve it, with working with people like Gabe, and hopefully, they're coming into more land, and they're young farmers too, young farmers and have ambitions. And I guess that's kind of, aside from the mac nut butter growth, the future plans with us is just to really, focus on here at home in Hawaii.
Awesome. Something good to come out of something like a pandemic, I guess, is new goals for the future and reevaluations of what matters and what's feasible. So that's really cool. So how many employees do you currently have, and how were you able to grow more employees from what you originally had, Matt?
I would have to look at the roster. I've been pretty clocked out of management, I guess. And I don't know where that sits at, especially now that we're reopening Waikiki. My guess is we have like somewhere around 15 to 20 maybe employees. I could be wrong. Maybe it's a lot less right now.
Great, somewhere around there.
Yeah, pre-COVID though, it was, upwards of like something around like 60-ish. Which and started from just us 4 in the truck.
Gotcha. So it just started with you 4, and then who was your first hire?
It was Hunter, the
Yeah,
Turk.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah, who I think when did he graduate? He must have graduated like 2015. Corinne, did you know him at
Hunter, who?
The Turk? He was like maybe
Yeah.
2 years older than you.
Yeah.
So he was our first employee, and it's just gotten more fun and more fun as the team's grown.
Cool. Gotcha. Expanding ever larger, but staying in Hawaii now. So.
Yep.
So what was the journey like looking back from starting your business until where you guys are at now?
I guess try to condense it. It's been just crazy fun, and they've been just the best random weirdest kind of risk that I've taken. I graduated from college in biology and was thinking about doing pre-med and had this entrepreneurial spirit. Started talking to the friends about different ideas, and they were more like tech related. Not that I know really anything about the world about tech and building a tech company, but that's kind of where it started. And to have it serendipitously kind of blossom the way it has and be involved with food has been just the best thing that I could have asked for in life. I just love being involved with food. It's just such a, simple. It can be overlooked. It's just what you eat that day, but it also can be very profound. That, it's one of the things that we interact with most and make environmental decisions about every day. And that we kind of have this choice every day in our lives, and connecting with farmers has been cool. And that's initially, starting out in the journey of it all, that's what I was excited about, is connecting with farmers and having some type of small impact. And then it kind of grew into hiring employees like Hunter and yourself, Bevan, and trying to, I guess it expanded I just did not think, I've said this before, at maybe like some company meetings and stuff, or like one of our big parties, that and it's just always so true that when I first started out in the business, I did not think about all the faces and the people that help us. We just thought like, oh, it's going to be successful and it's going to be great. And as we started to have team come along, it opened my focus to like that, man, also a huge part of this sense of purpose and what we want to accomplish is just creating really fun jobs. And that's been a huge element in the journey, is just having fun, and hopefully for the employees. And then as well, we went into business together as friends because we thought it would be fun. And it was, so many people discourage you from going into business with friends, and I think it can be so true. I'm sure it can ruin friendships, but for us, it's only for the most part deepen them. And we went into it because we thought it'd be fun together, and it's been wildly fun. Probably, I'd say, outside of some of our company parties, one of the highlights of just like the journey, if I'm trying to like condense everything, was doing our stores in Japan and going over there and just drinking with our business partners and just having this super surreal time that we're going to expand the business and have her go in, this kind of foreign world. And so I guess to answer your question, it's so hard to bottle into, a few sentences, but it really has just been ridiculous amounts of fun.
Yeah. So I think that should probably be a good end to our Zoom meeting today. I think Corinne Hassel has to go too, but anyway, yeah, thank you again, Matt, for spending your time with us. And yeah, thank you again.
Absolutely, yeah. Best wishes with the podcast. I had a bunch of
Yes,
fun
you
today.
are actually our first official guest, so we're very happy
cool.
to have you. Yeah.
Exciting. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you
very much
for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
I'm
right,
actually
guys.
gonna stop the ending or the recording here as well. All right. Okay. See you soon. Or well, other people. Okay, never mind.